Family is Providence. Thanks for tuning in. And the long-awaited documentary that 50 Cent had been teasing was coming, which, to be honest with you, I hadn't known if 50 Cent was serious about it for some time, but the longer he spoke about it, the longer it became clear he was dead set on producing a documentary about Diddy. And that documentary has released. It's called Sean Combs' The Reckoning. Now, I've halfway through. It's a 4-part documentary. I'm just finished watching part 2, and it's basically everything we suspected it was going to be. It's everybody and their mama making all kinds of accusations about Diddy and alleging that he was a part of many, many crimes. Now, the documentary itself is very well done, very professional, high quality documentary. It just looks like any high quality documentary you could ever watch. There's nothing wrong with it in terms of the way it's edited. It's very well done, actually. It brings people to speak on Diddy who would know a lot of things, like the co-founder of Bad Boy and childhood friends and associates and those types of people when Diddy was just now getting into the business. So the sourcing is strong. It's people who are close to Diddy. Now, you can argue a lot of these people have vendettas against Diddy because apparently they fell out with Diddy. Whether or not Diddy did exactly what they say he did, who knows? We're not there, but in the end, these people fell out with Diddy. And I would imagine many of them are bitter, have an axe to grind, and they're going to tell stories based on their own perception of what it is. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Diddy. That's just where we are with Diddy in the culture right now. And deservedly so. Diddy did a lot of terrible things. A lot of things that we've seen very quite clearly he be a part of. And so Diddy is perceived by many people to be a monster, a terrible person. And so whenever people speak negatively about someone who has a negative perception, the tendency is to simply believe everything that's being said about that person. And so we technically don't know if most of what's being said about Diddy here is true, but most people are going to believe most of what is said anyway, because Diddy is viewed as a terrible person. But the truth is, just because you've done terrible things doesn't mean that everything everyone ever says about you that's terrible, you're actually guilty of. So for me, I like to remain critical. I never like to just accept things at face value, even about people that we currently don't like and we currently feel like did a lot of terrible things. Me personally, I'm listening with a critical ear. Certain things I'm hearing from the documentary doesn't quite line up. Certain things that were said, I'm like, okay, I can see your perspective on that. But for me, I'm always just like, there's bias. And if you think there's not bias against Diddy in the documentary, then you should think again, because there's bias in every presentation. And when someone clearly has an agenda, there's an agenda behind this documentary. It's to show that Diddy's a terrible person. You can tell that there's an agenda. And so people are going to speak from a perspective where it's biased against Diddy. So I don't know if I'm hearing the full story. I don't know if I'm hearing the full explanation of about a lot of these stories that are being told. Now, did Diddy probably do a lot of what people said? Yes, but I'm sure there's certain things that are being said that didn't happen the way that they're being explained. So for me, I reserve my judgment for whether or not the stories in the documentary are true, but you can't deny that it's a very well done documentary, and most people are going to accept what's being said in the documentary without thinking critically. That just is what it is, because people already think that he's a bad guy anyway. So you're not going to have to work very hard to convince people that what you're saying about him actually happened. Now, interestingly enough, the documentary has very recent footage of Diddy behind the scenes conversations with his lawyers as they're trying to do PR work and getting ready to battle these charges that were coming from the feds. And it was a question of how they even got this footage in the first place. And apparently Diddy was filming himself because he was going to have a deal with Netflix to put out his own documentary, and that fell through. And then Netflix apparently reached out to 50 Cent to make a documentary. I don't know if there was some frustration there from Netflix why they reached out to 50 Cent, because it's well known that 50 Cent obviously is not going to paint Diddy in a positive light. And so Diddy and his team has sent the cease and desist to Netflix. They clearly have not agreed or complied with the cease and desist. And it's likely that Diddy will eventually sue Netflix over this documentary being released. Now, 50 Cent being a part of this, for me, is very strange. Obviously, we've known that 50 and Diddy have not liked each other for decades now. I believe things started to go sideways between 50 Cent and Diddy when 50 Cent was trying to get Mase to join G Unit, but Diddy didn't want to release Mase from his Bad Boy contract. And I think from then on, things started to go left between Diddy and 50, and they've been beefing ever since. Now, things really, I think, ratcheted up when it was discovered that Diddy and 50 Cent's baby moms, Daphne Joy, were involved. And you know, a man never likes when another man's dealing with his baby mama, especially if that other man is also a rich and famous celebrity. It kind of makes the baby daddy look kind of crazy. And then we find out during the trial all the things that Diddy had 50 Cent baby mama doing, okay, which is not good and very embarrassing for 50. So 50 has all the reason in the world to be going at Diddy right now. And 50 already is the type of person where if he don't like you, he's just nonstop. He's always in beef mode. We've seen 50 in his public beefs before. 50 can be very petty. It's just a part of his nature. And so it is what it is. However, I find it very, very strange that 50 Cent would do a whole documentary on someone. It's strange because this is not hip hop behavior. This is not street dude behavior. Okay, 50 from the streets, and according to their own code, you never actually put another man's sins on blast. That's what they call snitching. And so it's very strange to me that 50 would feel the need to put all of Diddy's transgressions on display. And it shows that 50 Cent at this point is very, very far from the streets, where he came from and what it is he has become now is two totally different things. He's fully corporate now. He's no longer in the streets. And I know a lot of people will say, well, you know what? Diddy's a terrible person, so he deserves to be exposed. And that's a fair point. My only response to that is 50 Cent is not exposing Diddy because he cares about these victims. Like, let's be clear. 50 don't care not a lick about Cassie, his own baby mama. He's ridiculed his own baby moms over this issue. Even during the trial, he was posting memes about his own baby mama and threatening to take their son away from her and all this. 50 does not care not one bit about these victims and the need to tell their stories. You know, if 50 Cent was some sort of advocate for domestic violence or an advocate for SA or anything like that, then I would say, okay, you know what? This might be on some snitching stuff. And by the way, I don't really care about no snitching stuff. I'm just going according to these guys' own rules. Okay. If he was really advocating for victims on a daily, then I would say, okay, this makes sense. But if he doesn't do that, he doesn't care about that. This is an opportunity to further denigrate and destroy one of his rivals, who I think for a while 50 Cent has been jealous of. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, a lot of this is centered in jealousy. I think that for a while 50 Cent wanted to compete financially with the Jay-Z's of the world, with the Diddy's of the world. You know, when he had sold his stake in Vitamin Water, he was up 100 mil, but then he had to file for bankruptcy and he could no longer compete with the Jay-Z's and the Diddy's of the world, right? And so I think there's a lot of that there. Not to mention Diddy would son him saying, I'm gonna take you shopping, 50, as if to say, you know, you you broke, you don't got no style, I need to take you shopping, on some big bro, little bro type stuff. And I think all of that got under 50 Cent's skin, and he can't stand Diddy. And this is a solid attempt to destroy one of his rivals. And so for me, that's an issue. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to give this guy any credit for trying to expose someone who is a terrible person, because the motive ain't right. Now, for me, when your motive ain't right, I'm also not going to trust your documentary all the way either, because I know you got a bias. See, I would like for somebody who is objective in this situation to do a documentary on Diddy. At that point, I feel like I could trust the content a little bit more. When I know you have a bias against someone and a vendetta against someone, to me, it taints your documentary. That's not to say that people with biases can't do solid work. They can. People with biases can do solid research. It's not necessarily the case that someone with a severe bias can't actually get to the truth of the matter. I'm not saying that, but it does cause me to significantly question your content on a particular topic when I know you've got a severe bias. So 50 Cent producing this documentary, to me, is not a good look for multiple reasons. But as I said, 2 episodes in, the documentary is entertaining. Certain things I think I agree with and it sounds sound, and certain things I'm questioning. Like, one of the claims was, did he hit his moms? And I'm like, okay, maybe, but I need some evidence. And the reason why I feel like this is partly because of the trial itself. There were a lot of accusations made against Diddy, and I followed the trial. And when Diddy's lawyers cross-examined a lot of these people making a lot of these accusations, their accusations didn't hold. It didn't stand up. And so I came to realize that a lot of people can say a lot of things, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Like, so for me, I'm looking at things a little bit critical, and I'm reserving judgment for what I believe is really true and really not. Some of the people actually have lawsuits against Diddy right now. So we're going to see if some of those lawsuits actually get favorable judgments. Because again, I like to hear claims being scrutinized. I don't just agree with things just because of what they're said. I don't just agree with accusations just because the person being accused is someone that we've all agreed that we don't like and has done bad things. People still need to have their claims scrutinized. And that's, to me, one of the issues with these documentaries, is that people can make claims. You know, you can get a ton of people, make a ton of claims, edit things certain way. I mean, listen, if somebody wanted to make a hit piece documentary about me, they could put together a documentary of terrible things. Now, let's be honest, I ain't never did nothing crazy like Diddy. Okay, but they can get me saying some awful things, and they can edit together certain things and probably find certain people that don't like me and say, oh yeah, this and that and the third. And listen, you can make a hit piece about anybody. So for me, it's just like, I need to hear the other side of the story. Now, will I ever hear it? No. But at the end of the day, Diddy put himself in this situation. He made terrible choices. We know for a fact that Diddy is an abuser, at the very least a physical abuser. He was found not guilty of sex trafficking and all that other stuff, but we see very clear this day, and many people have testified to the fact that Diddy put hands on people. He was a violent individual. He did mistreat people, abuse people, take advantage of people. And so now he is dealing with the consequences of having done those things. And unfortunately, if some lies get mixed in with the truth, that's going to be the consequences of mistreating people. So some people will say, you know what, even if these people are lying, who cares? We're never going to feel sorry for a guy like Diddy. And that's fine. You can feel that way. For me though, I like truth above all. So anyway, that's been my take. I might come back after I finish the whole entire documentary and just give more detailed thoughts on particular accusations. But this has been Providence. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed my take, please subscribe, hit the like button, get into the comment section, share your thoughts. It's Providence. I'll see you guys in the next video.